going on, guys? Sean Birdsong here, Sharon Letterline. Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Court. Today we got a special guest with us. We have former NBA player, 10-year NBA veteran, University of Tennessee, and author, Mr. CJ Watson. What's going on, sir?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. Now, I just want to know what's been going on with you, with everything going on, with COVID and all this other stuff, the basketball season. How have you been holding up with yourself?
I've been holding up good. I'm alive. Just taking it one day at a time, and just like you said, just trying to stay healthy, stay out the way, and just trying to come out of this pandemic better, more focused, and just a better version of myself.
Right. Now, have you been following the NBA? I know you're retired and everything, and I know a lot of former players. They might watch it, might not. So, are you one of those players that keep up with the league right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, basketball is my first love. It's something that I did for a long time, and I still have a passion for it. I just don't play it anymore, but I definitely still watch it. I still watch games here and there, and try to keep up with as much basketball as possible.
So, if you can, who's your favorite to probably come out right now?
My favorite, if I had to pick, I would say either the Lakers or Brooklyn. They're both obviously got a lot of injuries or whatever, but I think when those two teams are healthy, they're definitely the teams to beat, I feel like.
Right. Okay. Now, you're the author of 3 books. We're going to get to your career in a minute, but I want to talk about, the books you have: CJ's Big Project, CJ's Big Dream, and CJ's Big Moment. Can you talk about what the motivation was for you going from the basketball court to getting into, storytelling and being an author?
So I never really planned on being an author. It was just kind of something that just popped into my head. Like I tell the story all the time. I was just sitting on my couch, and I just wanted to see what else can I do to inspire kids, and writing books just popped into my head. And I didn't know any previous authors except for one guy who was my former coach. And so I just reached out to him and asked, what can I do I got all these ideas, these stories in my head. How can I kind of put them on paper and turn into a real physical project, which is a book? And he introduced me to this lady, and we talked for 6 or 7 months, just telling her my stories, my ideas that I had. And she took those stories and put it into a book. And that's kind of how the first book came about. And then after that, we just kind of knocked out the next 2.
So you're originally from Las Vegas. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that like, growing up in Las Vegas? I mean, when people think of Las Vegas, we think of this vacation and
yeah. So I mean, for me, it's I think it's really I get that question asked all the time, but we don't live in hotels. We don't live on the strip. Everyone doesn't. Everyone doesn't always gamble, but I think it's fun. I think it's you have your good and your bad in every city, and I think Vegas, you definitely have more of an entertainment city, and so things of that nature. But I definitely had kind of a normal upbringing. Grew up in the inner city, the urban area, so definitely I think that's where I got a lot of my toughness on the basketball court from growing up and playing on the playgrounds and things of that nature. So I think just those things kind of structured me to be the person I am today, and kind of made me the basketball player I was, and to get me to the level that I wanted to get to.
Now, I'm going to follow up a little bit more with that, because you just said a key thing. A lot of people, like you said, we think of Las Vegas, the hotels, the strips. There is an urban area.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. So can you tell us a little bit when you say an urban area, what was that like? I mean, people don't have any conception of Vegas being in also an urban city, and kids in the park, and
Yeah, so just like you imagine any other neighborhood, you have a lot of gangs, drugs. You have graffiti everywhere. You have your underserved school districts, schools. So I think my parents just wanted better for me. My parents actually grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, a real poverty-stricken area, and they moved here to get a second chance on life. So I think they had it in the plan to always keep me and my brother in I guess the best schools, but just give us the best chance to be successful in life, because they knew what it was like, not having anything, and then not growing up to have the same resources or same types of things to help you get to be successful in life. So they always kept us involved in something. We never really had any downtime. It was always us doing something. sports wise or church wise or community wise. So we were always active in pretty much everything.
So that leads into the next question. Is that why you went back to the University of Tennessee, to play ball?
Yeah, actually, that's kind of one of the reasons. My dream school was actually to play for UCLA, and I took a
Okay.
visit there, an unofficial visit during our AU trip, and I actually was going to commit, but a couple of weeks later, the coach got fired, so I just kind of reopened my recruiting process, and Tennessee was one of those places where I can come right in, play, and gain exposure, learn a lot, gain some experience, and it was also in one of the best conferences, and also my family was 2.5 hours from there, so I could always go get a home cooked meal for my grandma and my aunts and uncles. So it's pretty simple.
So the
Right.
stomach led you back home.
Yeah. The down south cooking is something different.
Yes.
I was just about to ask you that, the difference between going from Vegas to Tennessee, but you mentioned, like I said, your family was down there, so I guess it wasn't that big of an adjustment for you, right?
No, it wasn't really that big of a adjustment. It was just far away. And I always went to Tennessee every summer. Me and my brother, that my parents would send us there for the whole summer to hang out with my aunts and uncles and cousins and sisters. So it was definitely something I knew of. It wasn't like some just random commitment, but I definitely liked it. I'm not a country boy, but I'm definitely a city boy. So I don't know about me living there.
Right.
But you like the food. You like the
Oh
food,
yeah,
though.
the food is great.
Now we had another guy on, Silk Kozar. He co-starred in White Man Can't Jump. He was on a few months back. I actually told him that you were going to be on. He was like, "Oh yeah, I remember him. Great player, Tennessee. He's from Knoxville."
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So while you were at Tennessee, your freshman year, you were you earned all SEC honors, and when you finished your career at Tennessee, second all-time leader in steals and also assists. Can you talk about what was that college experience for you like at Tennessee, atmosphere-wise, while you were playing, and also the off the court type things like your major and everything like that?
So I think my major changed maybe once or twice. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, like probably like any college student. But I ended up getting my degree in psychology. That was something that I really liked to took heed to. And just for the basketball part, I feel like I said, I went to one of the best conferences. Anytime, any given moment in any one of those schools, especially in my point guard position, there's always a great point guard. You had to play against that night, so you never could really take any nights off. So I think going there was a big adjustment. And then just gaining the experience. I think gaining the speed of the college game, knowing. Actually, in college, that was my first time playing the point guard position, just strictly point guard. Because in high school, I played mostly two guard, a little bit of one, but I really didn't have to play point guard because I was more of a scorer. So just trying to get adjusted to playing against players who were better than me or just as good as me, and also who needed the ball more than I did. So I think that was kind of the biggest adjustment for me.
What would you say was your favorite memory of your college experience?
Favorite memory, I would have to say. I guess my senior year, we weren't projected to do well at all probably, and we end up being like a number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think we were like number 7 in the country at one point. We surprised a lot of teams, a lot of people, and I think that's kind of just and it was my last year also. So it was just that's kind of leaves a good taste in your mouth. Also, we didn't do well in the tournament, but we kind of overachieved that year, so it was good.
So you went undrafted in 2006. Was your transition from the D League to, playing in the NBA? Was it a good start? I mean, a lot of people don't.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. The whole reason why I didn't go back overseas is after my first year because I had a different coach every month overseas, so I didn't really feel like I had a good first year. So I didn't want to go back for the second year. So I just wanted to test it out in the D League and see if I can really get to the NBA and make that dream come true. And just throughout the process, I just felt like I was real close to the NBA. A lot of teams were telling me they liked me, they saw potential, and they just needed they gave me a list of things I needed to work on. So I tried to really hone on those skills in the D League, and I kind of like you said, became more of a scorer. 27 points a game. I don't even remember that. Those are definitely new stats to me, I feel like. But I definitely just became more of a professional, I guess, in the D League. Learned to more about recovery, more about playing 4 or 5 games in 5 or 6 nights, and just trying to just be more professional, really honing on into my body and making sure that I was ready for each and every game.
So
Now,
you had
go ahead, Sharon.
I said you had it both ways in terms of, like you said, having the opportunity to play overseas, and there's different feelings because some of the guys tell us it was another level of playing, overseas, another demand. Yet, like you said, the inconsistency, like you had different coaches all the time,
Yeah.
and go
Yeah,
from one team
it wasn't a big thing for me. I just thought, like, having once you try to get used to one coach and then another one gets fired, it's hard to kind of jump. And every coach has a different system, has different things they want to accomplish from their point guard. So it's kind of different for me, especially for usually being with the same coach for a while. So that was the biggest thing for me.
I wanted to ask you, when you came out of Tennessee and you weren't drafted in 2006, like you mentioned, you went to overseas and then you went in the D League and you had success, but you had a lot of success in Tennessee. What was that experience like going from Tennessee to now? It's like, okay, well, I didn't reach the NBA yet, so it's almost like you're paying your dues. What kind of self-motivation, I guess you could say, did you have during that time of, okay, I'm just going to ball out and make this process do what it is?
I had a lot of emotions, especially on draft night, because my agent called me and told me that I was going to get drafted. When someone tells you something and then the opposite happens, you have all these type of emotions, disappointed, let down, anger. That was probably one of the only times that I wanted to almost cry because of basketball. Definitely had a lot of emotions, and I definitely wanted to prove people wrong, wanted to prove people that I was good enough to be in the NBA. And I definitely had, those ups and downs throughout that process, wanting to quit basketball, wanted to go off and do something else. But, I had a good support system, good family around me who didn't let me quit and wouldn't let me quit. So I think, a lot of things that I have accomplished, a lot of the positives definitely go to them.
Right. And, like Sharon was saying, you did make history. You were the 100th call up to the Golden State Warriors. You paid your dues in the D League, you put up big numbers. What was that like finally to realize that, all right, I've made it to the NBA? What was that first, whether it was a call? Can you take us through that process, since the emotion you just shared on draft night didn't happen? Now you're getting that call to be in the NBA. What was that like for you?
So throughout that whole process, my agent kept calling me, like I said, every day saying, this team likes you, this team likes you. And I was just, kind of just fed up with the whole everyone likes you kind of stuff. and no one's really, kind of making the jump and want to take me on a date, I guess. So I told my agent at the time, just don't call me anymore until we actually have a legit call up and someone wants to call me up and take me on a date, I guess. So he didn't call me for about 2 or 3 weeks. And he called me one day and said, actually 2 teams were supposed to call me up, the Charlotte Bobcats and the Golden State Warriors. So, thankfully the Golden State Warriors called me up because I was a big fan of Baron Davis, and he's always one of my favorite players to watch. And a lot of those players, Steven Jackson, Monte Ellis, Matt Barnes, even Coach Nelson, they all kind of, helped me kind of be the person and player that I was in the NBA.
Right. Now, during your career, you played with 5 teams, Warriors, Bulls, Nets, Pacers, and the Magic. What was the experience like for you, to play during your career, 5 different teams? And was it an adjustment? Was it a tough adjustment going from city to city? Or was it kind of like, well, I'm in the league, I understand this is the business of things? What was your mindset throughout your career with that process?
So for me, it was a good thing because I never really got traded. I always got to pick my spots. So I got to pick, I was always a free agent. So I got to pick, Chicago Bulls or the Brooklyn Nets or whatever the situation would be. I was never traded. So I kind of really got to sit back and kind of see, like, who's on the team, where they're trying to go. And, in the future, what kind of young players do they have, veteran players, things of that nature. So it was kind of easy for me to do that. I think after moving to Chicago the first time, and moving a few times after that, it wasn't really a big issue. You know, like you say, it comes with the business. All you got to do is really just hire the moving people and just tell them where you're going next. So it wasn't really a big thing for me because, like I said, I always got to pick my destination. So it was really a cool thing, and I got to be able to pick and choose who I wanted to play with and what teams I wanted to play with, and hopefully, you know, kind of grow with that team.
Now, did you, just to follow up with that last sentence, you chose who you wanted to play with. What made each team kind of special, or the person? Was it more of whether it's you know, the franchise player or the coach? I mean, what spoke to you? I'm just curious in terms of the team, your team choice.
I think it's a little bit of everything. I guess first and foremost, it would kind of be my role. I knew I was a bench player. I was fine, you know, coming off the bench, being a backup point guard. And then I guess just the players that I was going to play with, were they high character people? You know, were they doing well in the league? Were they, you know, improving, you know, year by year, things of that nature? Because obviously I wanted to improve. Also, I wanted to add something to my game every summer, every season. So I think that was just the big reason. And also, you know, what other people say about certain franchises. So if I had other friends who played on the team before, I would call them before I would make a decision and say, hey, do you like the Bulls organization? Do you like the city? Do you like the, you know, the trainers? Blah, blah, blah. I would ask those questions and I'll get that feedback from friends or other people that already played there.
Right. Yeah, that's a very strong point. What a lot of people just don't look at is the corporate. I mean, the basketball is a business. You know, each team is a corporation. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially in today's environment and all the things we're, you know, dealing with, racial justice, the social justice, it really comes into play. What is the corporate, I'll say, what is the corporate culture? Not just, you know, you're playing, but you're seeing the people that put on the show. What is the corporate culture? Does it look like you?
Right.
You know, and I think that's a key when it comes to the social justice area, and people are starting to look at that. Whether it's just the thing with sports, you may see that 95% of the league is African American men. But when you go to the back office, the operations, it's very few. So, you know, that's also looking in the shift that's people looking at. And you know, and my hat's off to your generation of really taking a stand for the, you know, saying you guys are, it's not just, you know, you're not just players. You're
right. Yeah, for sure.
You're people.
Yeah, I would say we're a business also. Each player is its own corporation, its own business. And I think, you know, I'm a big advocate of having more players in coaching spots or in the front office spots, because these guys know what it takes to get to that level. They know announced, they know what players might want or might not want. So I think it's definitely a thing to get players, even players of color, in those positions to make those decisions and pick those teams and you know, trying to put together championship teams.
Absolutely.
Now, you know, you played 10 years in the league, you're very successful. I got two questions. What would you say, you know, was your best memory while you're in the league? And also, when you were playing, what was the moment that you knew you arrived? And I say that because I remember you, you know, especially when you were with the Bulls and the Pacers, you had some big games, playoffs and all of that. I remember that vividly. But for you, what was the moment that you were kind of like, yeah, I belong here?
I mean, I think there's a couple of moments. I feel like I definitely would say the first game that I got called up, I was very nervous. And throughout the game, you know, or actually before the game, you know, players that were already there, Baron Davis, Steven Jackson, would just come up to me and just say, you know, just go out and play the game. Coach Nelly doesn't care what you do, if you mess up or whatnot. Just go out there and play the game and have fun, no matter what the score is. And I think that's just what I did. Once I scored my first bucket, you know, those jitters kind of went away, and I kind of just, you know, let loose and kind of just let my game speak for itself. And I think another game would be when I scored 40 points. I don't think I'm sure there's a lot of people that scored 40 points in the game, but, you know, an undrafted player who, you know, probably never should have been in the NBA, or people thought he would never make it, scoring 40 points. I think that's a big accomplishment. And like I said, some of my favorite players haven't even scored 40. So that's definitely a good look for me, I guess.
That was a goal. Okay, so as we mentioned before, you have 3 books out now, and you're one of many successful NBA players who have made a second career after playing. Um, what would be your message to the youth, but also just to the community? You know, I think it's just so great um, writing books and reaching out and telling the story, because I think more people need to unplug from the computer, even though we're doing it right now, and
Yeah.
pick up a book. Because back in my day, and I'm not going to date myself, but we had books, and it's almost like a lost art. And
Yeah.
I love technology, but of course, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I read that book. I had an audio book." I'm like, "You didn't read a book.
Yeah. Same thing I say. Yeah.
You had someone read
It's
it
a
to
big
you."
difference.
So, tell me when you actually picked up the book and sat down and read the book.
So I was always an avid reader, growing up, and like I said, my parents had me and my brother always reading books, doing things of the norm that wasn't, I guess, normal. So I was always an avid book reader. Like I used to read the Dr. Seuss books all the time and all that kind of stuff. Chronicles of Narnia, things of that nature. So I was always a book reader and had imagination of my own, I guess. And then so like once I first read my first completed copy book, the CJ's Big Dream, I kind of looked at it and saw, like, I think this is a great product, and I think the story, which is a true story, and I think I just wanted to tell my story. I wanted to inspire kids, and no matter where you come from, inner city, a rich neighborhood, whatever the case may be, I think every kid can resonate with my stories in my books because it's for every genre.
Right. And we understand the big dream. You say it's personal, so the dream, I was trying to look at the project. What was the special project for you? Was that something that you did in school, or, what was that like for you to come up and create these different titles? You have a whole
Uh,
lot of different scenarios in your life growing up that you just parlay into books, personal experience that you've been through?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, all these stories are true stories. Every book is a true story. So, in CJ's big project, I actually got a bad grade on the test. I got a whooping, but we didn't put that in the book. But my teacher let me redo the project, or redo the science project. So, it kind of teaches kids to be resilient, to always continue to work hard, and also, once you get that second shot of doing it, or trying to get a better grade, to try to actually put more work into it than you did before so you can get a better grade. So I think that's just the whole message behind that book. And like I said, in my household when I was growing up, if we didn't get good grades, we couldn't go outside, we couldn't play sports. So I just wanted to inherit that to kids that education is key. This is the foundation that you need to have, education, because without this you can't even get to that big dream wherever you want to get to, regardless if it be basketball or whatever you want to do in life, that you can't do without education.
Right. Now, how much of an influence did your parents have on you, like during this process? Like, did you go back? I mean, you said you grew up in a household to where education was stressed. When you were writing these
Mm.
books, did you go back to them and show them, or get like certain ideas of, hey, when I was a kid, do you remember what I did, or do you remember this? Did you
Uh,
go back to them for any kind of advice, or no?
no, not really. I just tried to do it on my own. I sent maybe my mom or dad like some pictures of the illustrations like during the process. But I really didn't really tell anyone, honestly. The only person I knew was like my wife and my daughter. They would like reread the story and make sure like I didn't miss anything or anything like that. But as far as my parents, I didn't really show them until the finished projects. I just wanted to see like if they really, actually liked it, and kind of go from there. I didn't want too much input, I guess.
Right.
So was your daughter one of the toughest critics?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my oldest daughter, yes,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah, she definitely was. It's definitely hard to please her. I feel sorry for the guy who's going to end up marrying her.
No, you don't. No, you don't, because you're
Yeah,
the one who spoiled her. So don't put it on
yeah,
the next
yeah.
guy. Okay, it's
Yeah,
on
I
you.
set the bar a little too high, maybe.
Now, CJ, we ask all of our guests, this question. It could be off the court, on the court. What does being an American baller mean to you?
Being an American baller, just going out there playing with passion, playing to win. and playing for the love of the game, playing for nothing else, no money or nothing like that. So just playing for the love of the game to make yourself better, to make your teammates better, and in the end, in basketball is so crazy. You can meet different people from different ethnic groups and come together and just play one sport and all be together for that main reason, which is to win.
Right. Now, for our audience, can you tell us where they can find your collection of books and all the other information about what you have going on?
Yeah, so you can find my books on cjpens.com, cjpens.com, or you can go to Amazon under the titles CJ's Big Dream, CJ's Big Project, and CJ's Big Moment. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I think it's quietstorm_32.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you, man, for taking the time out today to drop some knowledge with us, and also, talk about your books and everything. And I'm also saying thank you again.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I had a great time. It's fun.
And absolutely, feel free to come back to us again. We want to just continue, new things that are coming up. Just let our audience know, and just sharing the knowledge. That's all I said. Share the knowledge.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, whenever y'all want me back on, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it, CJ.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.